To listen to some good old Mark Shapiro, the rise of reform and the rabbinic response in 19th century Germany.
Today, it's not so common, although often on trips and things you do it in the interest of time. But the Rambam defended this practice
of taking off your shoes when you go to shul.
A lot of people know why he defended it. He sees a lot of talking. He doesn't just say they're talking, by the way. He also says, the Jews are spitting also. You know, they're just acting, they're showing their disrespect. But then he says, that's what people often quote. But he says as follows. He says, by getting rid of the Chazaras Hashatz, where the Jews
that's the repetition of the main prayer.
He says, he says that this creates a Chil Hashem.
So Hilul Hashem means the desecration of God's name. It's the worst thing a Jew can do.
So the Jews not behaving properly in shul creates a Chil Hashem for the Goyim, and therefore the Rambam says that's a good reason. I don't know if...
So etiquette, there's no like Hebrew word for etiquette. And so the Hebrew word for synagogue, Beit Knesset, means meeting place. So it's not, an otherworldly place like a Christian sanctuary. And so when you become incredibly comfortable at a place, then it's more difficult for your behavior to be otherworldly. Right? When you're this worldly religion, you're not going to necessarily achieve the spirituality of a worldly religion. Good old Mark Shapiro just has a way of putting his finger on it.
Never seen Orthodox sacrifices. I've never seen synagogue has. In fact, those who know it probably recall there's two raised pulpits because they had two rabbis there, and the rabbis couldn't get along with each other. So then one Shabbos, one rabbi would give the drasha, the other Shabbos, the other rabbi would give the drasha, and they built two separate pulpits, so each one would have their pulpit. And one of these rabbis would get along with the other one.
So a drasha is a talk. So it's loosely translated, a sermon.
His name was Hevesi. He's the grandfather of Alan Hevesi, who was city controller of New York, intermarried at the time of the Big House, unfortunately. But his grandfather was the Neolog, chief rabbi of Budapest. And when I say Neolog, he's a Shomer Shabbos, Moshe Mohammed, I feel before us. In this, so further in the synagogue, he said there were bronze inscriptions adorning the building. In addition to the Hebrew ones, there's an organ in the synagogue. I'm assuming a non-Jew played the organ, I don't know the evidence. Later on, the synagogue was there, and women sat in the balcony. So this says, the first Reform synagogue, the Jacobson system, and women are sitting in the balcony. Women, I've said it before, let's see how many remember. What is the first synagogue in Jewish history, world history, that men and women sit together? Who's going to type it in? I'll keep talking and see who can type it in. And I'll give you a hint. Rabbi Kelvin. I apologize. Anyone who is associated with ABC television probably make the contrast. So, but yes, absolutely.
So Australia, more than any other first world nation of which I'm aware, tends to sexually segregate. Blokes go up with blokes, Sheilas with Sheilas. But Judaism has always been heavily sexually segregated until the rise of Reform Judaism in 19th century Germany. So it was in Germany that for the first time you had men and women sitting together at prayer.
Correct. It's in Albany, Isaac Mayer Wise. Until World War I, even in Germany, men and women sat together. The earlier in the churches, there's until World War I, men and women sat separately. And that's how the churches were. Only in Weimar, and it's after World War I, the Weimar period, where it was mixed seating introduced into synagogues in Germany. Now, they did remove the Mechitza in Germany before Weimar.
Wait, so I was wrong. It was Isaac Mayer Weiss, a Reform rabbi in America, who developed the first synagogue where men and women sat together at prayer. So that's 19th century America. So that innovation happened in the United States, not in Germany.
And in some cases, the women came down from the balcony and sit with men. They sat separately on the same level. And that's Rabbi, you said Albany, who introduced it, Isaac Mayer Weiss. There's a lot of controversial, there's a lot of this, and churches, as I said, also the Douglas Jews. Now that the name of the place, doesn't become such a tradition in Germany, it's not really as Hungary. I mean, Germany also recognizes it, but Hungary, this becomes such a central thing. We get to how Hungary signed on saying you can't even step foot into a synagogue if the name was not in the middle. And we'll see what Moshe Feinstein has to say about that today. Now, we have an eyewitness report of the opening of the temple in Zisin in 1810. And you can find this eyewitness report. Gunter Plaut has 2 volumes of primary texts on the Reform movement. One focuses on America, the other focuses on Europe. And if you look in there, you can print it out. Talks about how, first of all, with the dedication of the temple, the eyewitness reports that Christians were in attendance, nothing wrong with that, but they join in the singing. And it ends on a universalistic theme. Here it is. The festivities were original and unique. Where would one have seen a similar day at which Jews and Christians celebrated together in a common service in the presence of more than 40 clergymen of both religions, and then sat down to eat and rejoice together in intimate company, assuming that what they're eating wasn't kosher? Jacobson says as follows: "It's not been my intent to bring about a religious unification."
What is this babble? This is Dr. Mark Shapiro talking about the rise of Reform Judaism and the rabbinic response. Babel, this is Mark Shapiro, this great scholar. Babel, you kidder. You kidder. How you kid, Glib Medley.
To all religions. He says that I don't want a unification of religions. And in Paul's introduction, he cites this as proof that Jacobson was not interested in religious assimilation. He was interested in reform, not religious assimilation. But if you look at his next words, that is Jacobson's next words, after saying that it's not my intent to bring about a complete religious unification of our religions, he says as follows: "One accomplishes nothing at all if one desires everything or too much at one time. What is needed is gradual and slow development." So I'm reading it. It seems to be saying that religious unification is not ipso facto wrong, but in today's day and age, it's not something we can do. But in the future, this could be a goal. I guess when the Christians get rid of their belief in Jesus, then we can all be worshiping the divine together. When I will pick up.
So yeah, the founders of Reform Judaism thought that they created a universal religion that would supplant Christianity. They thought, Christians will drop the Jesus thing, and we'll all, worship the one true God, practicing true religion. Glum Medley is just jealous of the wit and wisdom of Mark Shapiro here.
With next, as I see it's already just about 9:30, is Jacobson's going to tell us what's driving him. And then we're going to get into a very interesting tangent, because Jacobson is going to make the argument that it's vital that our religious service not be disgraceful, not for us only, but in the eyes of our neighbors. And I think most people today, if you told them this, they'd say, the idea that we're going to determine what our social service looks like based on our I think that's not a normal way of looking at it. That's a classical reform way of looking at it. And you will see, I'm going to cite you Rishonim and Acharonim, you will believe it or not, say the exact same thing. There are synagogues.
Yeah, there never comes a time when you can just be oblivious to how your neighbors perceive what you're doing, particularly when you're a tiny minority. So Jews have always had to pay attention to what the non-Jews think. This idea of, we don't care what the Goyim think, that's not realistic. Any normal, healthy person has to care about how other people perceive what they're saying and doing.
Service cannot be a Chil Hashem. The very concept of a synagogue service can be a Chil Hashem in the eyes of the Goyim. And then we'll move on to Freelander. Lots of good stuff coming up. Well, let me make a note here. Let me take questions, lots of questions. Someone asked privately, last week I spoke about maybe credit for Kohen to go to the funeral of a non-Jew. Sometimes the person could have been Jewish, but may not have been aware of it, someone says. Yeah, it's possible, but generally we don't make that assumption. The Gemara always deals with that. Someone could be descended from the 12 tribes, the 10 tribes. You can always have a suffix, but unless you know otherwise, if you know that someone's a Christian, then you can assume that. After all, we do much more important things than going to funerals. We use non-Jews as a Shabbos guy. And there have been some cases. There was a case in Israel, supposedly, where the Shabbos guy, turns out he was Russian, turns out he was actually Jewish. They thought he wasn't Jewish. But they have crazy cases like that. But generally, we have a concept of Shabbos guy, and we don't worry that maybe 4 generations ago, his maternal grandmother was Jewish.
So the Shabbos guy is a non-Jew who does things for the Jew on the Sabbath that the Jew's not allowed to do. So the problem with having a Shabbos guy is it makes Judaism look stupid. It makes Jewish law look stupid. It makes Jews look like they're just trying to get around God's law.
Kelly tells us from Oris also said YUJSS. He did. He's actually the translator of the. Some of you probably know that red volume of Tanakh, Judaic Press, which is a translation of all the Rashi's of Tanakh and a selection of commentaries. The very first one that came out in the 70s, I guess it is, Sefer Yoshua, that was done by Rabbi Oretz. Which says Oretz started Esther Schoenfeld. Well, I have to, back in the day, I have to say that I don't even know what Esther Schoenfeld is. I guess it's a school. I never heard of it. Someone privately points out in the Torah, Sota is spelled with a sin. You seem to imply there was a samach. Well, and then you say by the time of Chazal, no difference in pronunciation, all the way to the samach. The Chazal writes it as a samach. The Rambam still writes it as a sin. The word satah is sin 10a. Why there was a change, I always thought because they sounded the same, so it didn't really matter. But I don't know why. They were not from. someone sprints that says that Islam was not considered idolatry of monotheistic Christianity because of the Trinity is considered is questionable as a monotheistic religion. Yes, so you say that may be a difference in why the Marranos were okay to convert to be secret Jews. No, I don't understand, because the Marranos were converting to Christianity, not to Islam. That's it's the same thing. The Marranos were speaking about, or conversos, they were dealing with Christianity both in France and Germany as well as in Spain and Portugal. It is the case that there was an earlier in Spain, forced conversions of rebels than the Almohads. That's strange.
Now, what I'm saying actually is that many of the Muslims didn't consider it, many of the Jews didn't consider it the same as in conversion to saint, because they're converting to.
Right, so for Orthodox Jews, it's generally considered prohibited to walk inside a church, particularly if there are Christian services going on, because Christianity is considered a much greater compromise with monotheism than Islam, which from a Jewish perspective is much closer to monotheism than Christianity. So for a Jew to walk inside a church is considered a big deal. It's not something you really want to do if you want to maintain a good reputation in the Jewish community.
Monotheistic religion.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, that's absolutely the case. But the thing is, we're speaking about in the end of the 14th century and the 15th century, we have mass conversions of Jews to Christianity in Spain. And then with the expulsion, you have the numbers are unbelievable. In fact, it seems like more Jews. This is great. By Gordon Roth, I just don't agree with him. No one's mass conversion. Gordon Roth is the majority of Jews converted to Christianity in Spain from 1391 on. And there we're doing Christianity. So the question remains, why, when it came to Christianity in Spain and Portugal, do we not have the martyrdom that we have in the Christian lands of Germany, England, and France? So that we'll have to hold off to our nice bus trips, where we go into great detail and we deal with the great disputes between the two Roths, Norman Roth and Cecil Roth. And Norman Roth's allies include Benzio Netanyahu and others, and Cecil Roth's allies. We have fun. Michael says, we got to that. Susanna says, well, Aramaic found its way into the Synod because that's what people understood. I'm not sure what.
We were talking about the vernacular. So there was a time when Aramaic was the vernacular.
Yeah, and we have vernacular for the women in particular of Aramaic. Those not just for the women. We have it to this day in the Synod. We have Shmei and all other things that are Aramaic. In theory, we'll see there's nothing wrong with vernacular. It's Chazal tell us there's nothing wrong with it. The problem that the Gedolim had is how to say that it's wrong when when Chazal tell us that it.
Okay, so Chazal refers to the rabbis of the Talmud. So rabbis who are rocking and rolling 2,500 to 1,500 years ago. And Shas is also another name for the Talmud.
It's permissible. That's going to be one of the most difficult things that the Gedolim have to do, is when the reformers are going to say that we want to pray in the vernacular.
So Gedolim refers to the great rabbis.
When the rabbis are going to say you can't. How can you say you can't when the Rambam is explicit to feel the Halacha and the Gemara, etc.? Ellie says that my kids live in Berlin, in Kira for Lauder, started a new community based on a wonderful place in Berlin. I don't know if that's related. I think that's related to what you're referring to is the Rabbinic seminar, the Adas Yisrael, in Berlin. On our trip there, we ate there, and I've been there a few different times, and that is the community. There's a Chabad community, but the non-Chabad, it's a community. We were there, we saw the nursery. There's lots of little kids playing, speaking German, but this is the Shomer Shabbos community of young people and working people, and there's people, not just Yeshivish people, regular people. And it's a very, very nice community. And yes, you can please make the connection to your son-in-law. I'd love to, because when I go back to Germany, I'll be traveling around again. He's official rabbi of the German state. I assume he's a Musbach of the Rabbiner seminar. When we go on our Germany trip, we also eat with one of the rabbis who come from there.
Yes, he was the second graduating class.
Oh, so very good. Rabbi Shubnow says the term orthodoxy came from Reform, used for them as a characterization against traditionalists. I respect the term. That's what her says. That it was a negative term, used a term. We'll get to that. But it's been accepted. It's not the only such term. I've said it already in the past. The term misnagdim was a term used by the Hasidim, and yet the Hasidim were used against the non-Hasidim.
So yeah, Orthodox was a term of derision that Reform Jews used for the traditionalists. Eventually, the Orthodox came to adopt it. Just like the Mitnagdim, the opponents of Hasidim, right? They were called by the Hasidim, the Mitnagdim, meaning opponents, and eventually they came to embrace this term of derision. So just like queer, that used to be a pejorative term for homosexuals, and they've come to embrace it. Bye-bye.